What is your deepest and darkest secret? Story 1. When I was like 6, I was super scared of the dark, like most 6-year-olds, and it was late at night and I needed to pee really bad. I had an air vent on the floor near my bed, so obviously my 6-year-old mind thought it would be a good idea to pee in the vent. My parents never found out, but were constantly complaining about the pee smell that they couldn't seem to locate. I'm taking this secret to my grave. Story 2. I'm turning 25 in a couple months and I'm still a virgin. Now, back in high school, I was really fat and gross, so no girls wanted to talk to me, which led me to just keeping to myself and being the quiet kid. I've spent the last couple years working out and eating better, and now I'm better looking, and now all of a sudden, girls have been interested in me. The problem is, I never had any real practice being with girls, so I feel like I've hit the ground running and I'm lost on what to do. Well, they say that good things come to those who wait, but it seems like the universe decided to make you wait just a little bit longer than expected. Don't worry though. You've gone from zero to hero, and now it's time to embrace your newfound game. Just remember, even the most seasoned players once fumbled through their first interaction, so get out there and make those rookie mistakes with style. Story 3. In 8th grade, I won the Reader of the Year award at school. I was in a club called Book of the Month Club the entire year, but only because I wanted to get on the principal's good side. I was not the best in school and got in trouble from time to time, so for some reason I decided to join his club. All I had to do was read any book and then write a one-page summary afterwards. I turned in a summary every week for the whole year, and at the end of the year, in front of the whole school assembly, I got the prestigious award. I never read a single book. Like, not one book. I was just good at summarizing in my own words. I would look up what the book was about and then go from there. It was very easy and shocking that he never asked me more about the books that I was supposedly reading. Good times. Story 4. When I was a kid, one of the windows in my room led right to the roof of the garage. And since we didn't have any screens, I started climbing out onto the garage roof. Parents found out, added screens. And I tried to remove the screens, but I figured that I wouldn't know how to put it back on, so I left it alone. Fast forward a few months later, and my parents got me a cheap pocket knife that could do little else but slice through cheap fabric. But it could slice through a screen. So I did that, and then made it look like I still had a screen and kept going on the roof. Yay! Then we went on a trip. We came back, and it was a cool summer evening, so Mom went upstairs to open all the windows. I'm hanging out with the dog at the front of the stairs when my mom calls my name and asks if I had cut the window open. Nope. I deny, ready for I already knew, I just wanted to see if you would tell me the truth spiel. My mom frowns and calls my dad to go upstairs with her, and then silence. I figure by now that they're planning where to hide my body. A few minutes later, a cop shows up, starts talking to my parents and investigating, and I'm called over to talk to the policewoman. She congratulated me for keeping my window locked because obviously some kid was trying to break in to have a house party or a burglar. I'm commended for being safe and smart. Parents are proud. I wish that I had gotten caught, but realized if I spoke up now, there would be nothing of me left to identify after my parents got a hold of me. My mom checked the locks of all the windows from then on, and always brought it up. Always said what a smart girl I was for always locking my windows. Story 5. Okay, here goes. Sharing something I thought that I would take to my grave. My husband likes me trimmed, and I like him to do it. We use a couple of small hand towels to catch the distinctive curly hair that is cut off, and somehow our laundry got mixed up, and I ended up using those same towels, unwashed, and then putting them in a guest's bathroom for a Christmas party. So, after probably 6 hours, all the guests left, and we only then realized that we left our pube-covered towels out for people to dry their hands on. I don't know who noticed what. No one said anything, but I've always assumed that everyone noticed, and we seriously haven't seen most of those guests since, so I was too mortified to invite them over again. Ah, yes, the perils of mixed-up laundry and unexpected surprises. That must have been an incredibly awkward and cringeworthy moment for you. Like, the mental image of guests unknowingly drying their hands on pube-covered towels is both hilarious and cringe-inducing. It's like one of those situations where you wish that you could rewind time and undo the mishap. However, take solace in the fact that no one mentioned anything, so maybe there's a chance they didn't notice, or maybe they just chose to be discreet. It sure is a memorable story nonetheless, and maybe a great conversation starter, although probably not with those guests, or maybe not at all. Who knows? Just remember to double check your laundry next time, especially when it involves towels of a delicate nature. Story 6. When I was a kid, maybe 13, I timed an online delivery for when my parents were out of town and my grandma was staying with me. I got a sword, an actual sharp and hard katana. Now, obviously not forged or anything, but way too real for a kid. So anyway, it comes, and I take it out to the woods, of course, to play around with it. It's getting dark, and I'm heading back home after killing some trees when something coughs and snorts at me and lunges out of a bush. I scream like a girl and overhead swing that katana down so fast. Well, I hit the baby deer slanted across the neck. The stupid sword barely cut in, but it definitely broke its neck. I cried and watched it die over about 20 minutes and then left the sword there and then went home. I've told one person ever and they said I was a monster, so I pretty much stopped thinking about it. Thanks, Op. Story 7. After my ex and I broke up, I was so sad and I missed him so much, so I drove 30 minutes to the next new house that was being built. It was just a frame, stood inside the upstairs bedroom of this framed house just to be near him, only to see him hooking up with one of my best friends in the shower. No curtains up, as the whole neighborhood was just framed houses. Now, there was no reason to have put them up. I literally thought I would die. I stood there watching the whole thing, like some sick stalker, and I finally woke up and realized how weird this was and went home. A few days later, I contacted him and we got back together. Stupid. All because I couldn't handle losing him to someone else. And it didn't last. The dumb stuff we do when we're young and just can't handle emotions. This was my only peeping Tom moment in life. Story 8. I'm scared that I might be a sociopath. I'm really nice to pretty much everybody. I like connecting with people, and I would never actually do something to hurt someone physically or emotionally. I'm good at logically thinking through what other people are probably feeling based on my actions and the actions of others, good at understanding motivations. Now, all of this means that I know what emotions I should be feeling, but those emotions never show up. Like, the empathy is there in theory, but it's hollow. I'm not sure how much I actually care about other people, so much as I care about what they think of me and care about whether or not my interactions with them make them happy. It's confusing and kind of scary. What if I'm just a sociopath who cares a lot about being a good person for vanity reasons? Story 9. When I was a little kid, I was at a friend's house and his parents always went on vacations, and they had all sorts of stuff from their trips around their house, and I found this matchbook and was fascinated by it because it was from some restaurant in Florida, and the design and logo were tropical, and I just thought it was cool. So I stole it. I put it in my pocket, and then my friend's dad drove me and my friend to his friend's, the dad's friend, house so that we could all go fishing. We fished for a little bit, and everything was fine. But I suddenly got very paranoid about having this matchbook in my pocket. I eventually got to the point where I thought I was going to go to jail for stealing it because, I was a little kid and assumed the worst. So I had to figure out a way to get rid of this matchbook. My brilliant plan was this. I tripped down a hill, and as I rolled, I had the matchbook in my hand and I just threw it. My friend's dad asked me if I was all right when I got up and said, yeah, and then pointed at the matchbook now laying on the ground like 50 feet away from me and said, hey, what's that? The dad went over and picked it up and immediately asked me where it came from, and I said I had no idea. I just noticed it when I stood up. There in the middle of the yard, completely randomly, like it was normal for it to be there. The dad's friend then comes over and was like, what's that? What did you find? And the dad said, it's a matchbook from Florida. The dad's friend said, how did it get here? And the dad, eyeballing me, said, well, my wife and I ate there on vacation once. No clue how it got here, though. Did you ever go there? And the dad's friend says, I've never even heard of the place. The dad then just stared me down, called over his son, and said, it's time to go. He took me home then, and I didn't go over there for a long time after that. I'm sure that he knew what happened, but in case he didn't, it was me. I stole the matchbook and then put it there and tried to pretend it wasn't me. There. Now it's out there, my deepest, darkest secret. Well, 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 looks like we have a little matchbook magician here, or wannabe. Like Houdini would have been really proud of your sleight of hand and quick thinking. Who would have thought that a simple matchbook could cause such a wild adventure? But hey, we all have our moments of mischief when we're young, right? At least you had the creativity to come up with the grand disappearing act. I mean, it wasn't that smart, but whatever. Just remember, the magic trick is to learn from your mistakes and then just make better choices in the future. Like, hey, don't steal people's stuff. Story 10. I signed up to be a sugar baby on a website because I needed help paying for my dream school, and loans were just not an option. The guy made me feel very uncomfortable, manipulated me into hooking up with him the first time we met, And every time after that, he would threaten to not give me money if I didn't see him the second that he told me that he wanted to see me. I was scared but really needed the money for school. Now this happened over the course of 2 weeks. When I brought up the payment plan for school, he said, "Okay, and I will bring you a check for when I see you tomorrow. Make sure you look into how you will have to report this tax season, etc." The next day, he disconnected his number, which then sent me into panic mode since he was my lifeline to school. Now, to this day, I have not told anyone about this because I'm so ashamed by the fact that I was so stupid to believe this guy. Story 11. When I was in the first grade, our school incentivized an anti-drug campaign by bringing a famous magician to perform. Since there were limited seats in our auditorium, they offered them to students who created their own anti-drug poster and mini campaign. Think like a science fair project, but with an anti-drug message. Anyway, I really wanted to go to that magic show, but I was also really lazy. So, the morning of the show, when we were supposed to bring in our posters, I lied and said that I'd left mine at home accidentally. I acted so devastated that my teacher believed me and allowed me to see the magician, while no one else who failed to bring in a poster was given permission. It was a great show. I wasn't a big liar and still kind of feel bad about it, so flagrantly deceiving my teachers and peers. Not the worst thing in the world, but it definitely weighed on my conscience. Story 12. I didn't know that my mom was dying of cancer. For half of my childhood, she had a brain tumor or was in remission and still taking loads of medication. She had gotten really bad my senior year, and while crying during the summer, told me that the medicine wasn't working. But me, being a 17-year-old, just hugged her and said that they would find a new way to treat it, like they always did. Some things were different that fall, like my dad was taking a leave of absence to take care of my mom, and she was in a wheelchair and not talking nearly as well. But no one ever explicitly said to me that she was dying. All of a sudden, an ambulance came and took her to hospice, and only then did I understand what was up. She died 2 days later. I feel like an idiot because maybe my dad did tell me and I forgot, but I feel like if I'd known, I would have spent a lot more time with her. And then, if she didn't want us to know, I think that would make sense too, because of her very strong and happy personality. But I'll never talk to my dad about it because it would just upset him, and he's had a tremendously difficult life. Story 13. I've been seeing this girl for a while now, and our parents are super against us being alone at either one of our houses. My parents left town for a weekend, so of course, 18-year-old me gets some ideas. I texted my girlfriend that my parents were leaving town, and she has this huge idea to basically say the F word to our parents' rules. We planned for a whole day how we were going to pull this off. I wouldn't mention anything to my parents about hanging out with her that day unless they asked. Otherwise, they would make sure I wasn't at the house with her. She told her mom that she was staying the night at her friend's house. So after we got our stories to match should anything happen, I drove to her friend's house to pick her up, drove back to my place, hooked up on my parents' bed, and then spent the whole night together. Love you, Mom and Dad. Well, at least somebody knows how to seize an opportunity. Like, this isn't anything new with teenagers, I guess. Your rebellious rendezvous certainly took advantage of your parents' absence. I must say, though, using their own bed adds a little extra spicy twist to the adventure. I guess that was necessary, I don't know. Just be careful not to leave any evidence behind next time. Like, after all, you wouldn't want your parents to discover any unexpected surprises when they return. Keep exploring, you lovebirds, but remember to always respect the rules, or at least find creative ways to bend them without getting caught. Story 14. When I was 9-ish, my aunt lived with my mother and I. She had 2 rooms in the attic, one her bedroom, and the other a TV room with a sofa. She would invite me up there to watch scary movies, and I would often stay up there till 2 or 3 in the morning. My mother was a deep sleeper and turned in around 8 p.m., so I was free to do whatever. Now anyway, in the middle of one movie, a steamy bed scene came in, and as it was happening, she asked if I had ever seen anything like that. I lied and said no, at which point she proceeded to take her panties off and spread her legs. She was in a recliner, and this is what it looks like. Do you want to touch it? I almost threw up and ran downstairs. She came down about a minute after to find me asleep in my lights-out room. She stood just inside my doorway, whispering, yelling my name repeatedly for like 10 minutes. I was really scared of what might happen if I answered her, so I just laid there on top of my bunk bed, wishing that she would go away. I felt safe up there since she was too short to get me, and the next day I didn't say anything about what happened and pretended that it didn't even exist. For the next few months that she lived with us, I tried to not be alone with her and started sleeping over at my buddy's house on Fridays and Saturdays when she would come home in the evening. Story 15. I once dated a girl so I could hang out with her mom and try to get close. Her mom was the most beautiful woman, that I'd ever laid eyes upon. Still to this day, I think about her from time to time. Anyways, my girlfriend at the time knew I thought her mom was hot, but she didn't know what I was trying to accomplish. I was talking to her mom one night after dinner outside. I was heading to my car, and she was saying her goodbyes. I went in to give her a hug, but my hormones kicked in, and I tried to go for a kiss. She immediately pulled away, and I told her, "I'm sorry, I just thought that she was the most beautiful woman in the world, and please don't tell your daughter. Please keep it a secret for the both of us." I continued to date her daughter for another 3 months. Her mom and I kept it a secret, and we were very awkward towards each other. All I know is, it doesn't hurt to try. Dating the daughter to get close to the mom? Well, that's a bold strategy, my friend. And going in for a kiss? Smooth move, Casanova. Well, let's just say it didn't quite end up in a fairy tale romance, which is probably for the best. Awkwardness level? Expert. Now remember, folks, some secrets are best kept locked away, especially when they involve your significant other's hot mom. Lesson learned, next time maybe stick to compliments and keep the kisses in check. Love can be a battlefield out there, but family drama is a whole nother level. You just don't want to mess with that. In the comments, does anyone else have a big secret that they need to get off their chest?